Hi guys, I'm Vince Lucchini from OPUS. We're proudly working with OPUS to supply them with a diesel heating system for all of their caravans. A little bit about OPUS. We manufacture diesel heaters for the caravan industry. We've been doing that for almost 5 years now. We're known to have a very high quality product. We supply over 35 other manufacturers as well. OPUS are one of our great partners, and so today what I'm going to do is give you guys a bit of a rundown on our diesel heating solution and how to use the controller and just a little bit about the heater as well. Alright, so the first thing I might mention is that each of your OPUS campers will come with a diesel heater user manual from OPUS. So please have a good read through that manual. It's not too long, but it'll basically give you a good understanding of its functionality and how to go into the settings if you need to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a basic run through on how to use the control panel. Okay, so this is the control panel that you'll find in your OPUS camper or caravan. You'll also have a remote control like this. Basic button configuration is you've got your power button, up button, down button, and then your information button. You have a little speaker built into the actual control panel here. This control panel is for the ML voice, which basically means that you know, if you can't see the controller and you're using it from bed with your remote control, it tells you what you're doing. So you'll hear it click as you turn it up or turn it down, and it also says unit on or unit off when you turn it on and off. Underneath here there's a little temperature sensor as well, which senses the temperature of the room. So now what I'm going to do is give you guys a bit of a run through on the actual using the control panel and some of the functionality that it has available. So let's just start by simply turning it on. Very easy. Now when you turn it on, basically what it does is it shows you the symbol of the diesel heater, the main body. It gives you a fuel tank there. That's not connected to the actual fuel tank, it's indicative, and it also just anticipates the amount of fuel that you've used. And then here we can see it says P1. So at the moment we've currently got this in manual mode. In manual mode you've got P1 to P5. So P1's the lowest setting, so what it does is it will burn the lowest amount of fuel, and as you go up to P5 it'll burn the higher amount of fuel, but also it'll increase the fan speed. So you'll see that you can go all the way up to P5. Now with the diesel heaters, when you switch them on, they do a priming cycle. As they prime, they take around about 60 to 90 seconds to prime, and once they're primed they'll actually fire up. And when it fires up, you'll know because it'll have a flame symbol in the middle of here, which we'll see come up in just a moment. So while it's doing that, and I'll come back to it when the flame symbol does appear, I'm going to show you guys there's two modes here. So as I said, at the moment it's in manual mode or warm air mode. But if you want to change to air conditioning mode, which simply means conditioning the air in your van, higher or lower, you hold down the power button while it's on. Air condition mode. And I've just switched to air condition mode. So with air condition mode, you can simply adjust the heat that you guys like in your van. So for example, if you like it at 22 degrees, what it'll do is that temperature sensor at the bottom of the screen here will sense the room temperature, and it'll work its way up to 22 degrees. Once it arrives at 22 degrees, it'll automatically, and you can see the flames just appeared there, it'll automatically turn off, which means it's not burning fuel. And then when it drops 3 or 4 degrees, it'll automatically fire up again and bring you back up to that 22 degrees. Similar to the ducted heating that you might have at home. Again, just simple operation. You set the temperature that you like, it'll work its way up by itself. That means that the fan speed and the burn rate will all be fully automatic. Or if you want to go back to manual mode or warm air mode, hold down the power button and you go down back to warm air mode. So I've currently got it at P1, which is the lowest burn rate, lowest fan rate. You turn it up or turn it down, and again with the remote control, up or down. It's that simple. So I'm going to move to this button here. This button here is the information button. So the information button, when you press it, the first thing you'll see, the first press, is the room temperature. So at the moment it's 19.7 degrees here. Again, it's just been sensed by the actual thermostat at the bottom here. When you press it again, what that is, the 81, 82 degrees. Now that's climbing because the combustion chamber is heating up, and this is just showing you how hot the combustion chamber is. And the way it works is it basically sucks air through the room over the combustion chamber, and that then produces the hot air out of the vent. So you can see there it's at 91 degrees and climbing, 92, 93, and that's going to go up well over 150 degrees and basically recycle the air in the room, so it pulls it over that combustion chamber and it brings out hot air. When you press that information button again, you can just basically see the voltage of your battery. So at the moment it says anywhere between 11.7 and 11.9 degrees volts. Basically this is currently running off a transformer just for this demonstration purposes. So it's not indicative of a caravan battery. And you basically see here, it's a little picture of the pump, and that's basically the pump rate. So when you press it again, it just comes back out to, your warm air mode where we were. What I'll do is I'll run through some of the settings so that you guys can see how to set a timer. And just also whilst I'm here, the unit actually does a priming sequence when you switch it on. It takes between 60 and 90 seconds to switch on. And it does the same thing when you're turning the heater off. It takes between 60 and 90 seconds before it entirely turns off. With the timer function now that it's on, if I want to use, if I want the heater to switch on at a certain time, because I'm going to switch it off, I just basically hold down the up arrow or the up button and see the timer come up. That indicates tens of hours, single hours, tens of minutes, single minutes. So if I wanted to, let's say for argument's sake, switch on in 6 hours, you use the power button to toggle through. I'm just going to get to the hour section, single hours, and I'm going to set it for 6 hours. And I'm just going to toggle back out. You can see there that also little clock symbols come up on the top. Toggle right out of it. Now I'm out. If I switch it off, what will happen is the LCD panel will stay on and I'll basically see that count backwards. So in a moment it will turn to 5 hours and 59 minutes. And when it gets down to 0, the heater will automatically switch on at whatever setting or heat setting I had it at last. So to turn that off, I'll simply just hold down the up arrow till it beeps, and now that timer's off. Another thing I'll show you about the timer. So if I set a timer for it to turn off, for example, and this applies to both on or off, but let's say I've turned it on, I'd like it to switch off in 5 hours, hold down the down arrow, I toggle to the single hour indicator there, I put it up to 5 hours, toggle through the minutes, and once I've toggled out, I can see the clock symbol there. And now if I want to know how much time's remaining before it actually switches off, go to the information button, you just press that information button to toggle through, and the last one will show me how long it'll be until it actually turns itself off. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just basically give you a bit of a rundown on this fuel symbol here. So that indicates the fuel tank fuel level, but this is in no way electronically connected to the fuel tank. So what it does is it anticipates the amount of fuel that you have left. So you can see there that it's currently full. It's got red, yellow and blue. As the heater runs and you use the heater, you're going to find that this decreases. What it is basically just a reminder to check the fuel in your fuel tank. You should always keep a view on or have a look at the fuel tank to make sure that it isn't running out of fuel, because once it does run out of fuel, it is a little bit tricky and it takes a little bit of time to reprime it. And the last thing you want to do is have to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning to fill it up with fuel, let alone have to wait to reprime the heater. So try and avoid that. Don't totally depend on this, just an indication and a reminder. Go out to the fuel tank physically, or when you're walking past it going in and out of the van, just make sure that you have a bit of a look at the level gauge on the fuel tank, which we'll talk about in a little while, and just make sure that it's not getting on to empty, otherwise top it up. What will happen is, as I said, that will decrease. As it gets to 0 in the red bar, that'll start flashing. To reset that, simply just hold down the information button, hold it down, don't let it go until it beeps. Once it beeps, what will happen is that'll reset to full again. So when it does happen and it does go to empty, that's all you have to do. So this is the fuel tank that we use on the AU Focus diesel heaters. It's a 5 litre stainless steel fuel tank. It's 304 stainless steel, so it's quite high grade. What I'll talk about is, obviously you've got your lockable cap here. What I recommend to everyone is always keep these keys separate in case you lose one. Once you lose one, you actually have to get a full new cap, which comes with keys. And one of the really important things about the fuel tank is to make sure it doesn't go empty. You can see there's a top mount fuel gauge there. At the moment, we've got between 1/4 and 1/2 a tank of fuel. What I recommend is once it just gets below 1/4, just top it up again. It's quite painful to reprime it, and generally to reprime the unit, the best way to do that is simply switch it on and off. You switch it on, you let it run through its cycle because it does a prime cycle every time you switch it on. The fuel moves very, very slowly down the fuel line. So if you do run out of fuel, it'll probably take you 4 or 5 goes, possibly a bit more, before the heater actually starts up. And the way that you'll know that it hasn't got fuel yet is simply you'll get an error. So you'll just switch it off and switch it back on, and you'll repeat that cycle until it gets fuel again, and then it will start automatically. So if you do run out of fuel, that's the way to do it. And obviously if you avoid running out of fuel, it's always much easier. Thanks a lot for watching today, guys. If you do have any questions, if you want any further information, feel free to call AU Focus directly. You'll find our phone number in the user manual at the bottom. So if you ever need to contact us, our number is 03 8597 0396. Feel free to give us a call if you've got any questions, or if you need any support or anything like that. We're always available. Well, Monday to Friday, 9 AM to 5 PM, and we'll do everything we can to support you guys.